Anyone else feeling Elfman's Spider-Man score with that opening note? I wouldn't put it past Giacchino. Liz must have had a front row seat to the now famous pan around the Avengers shot from that film. Also, loving Liz's first scene wasn't her in art class. Held that twist pretty close to the chest. Even if you were smart enough to connect that being the head of the homecoming committee means she's probably creative.
Kid's got a future.
In an age of cinematic universes where the slightest continuity errors between different films with different casts and different filmmakers can get you lynched, this Chitauri Leviathan's final location is pretty close to where Hulk and Thor landed on it in Avengers.
It's time we change too.
Shortest origin story ever, and I do not hate it. We don't need to see the Vulture's suit being built, we get it. He's a badass bad guy.
Business is good.
Just when you think they couldn't possibly come up with another passable Spider-Man theme, they reworked the 60s cartoon theme in a totally epic way. My only complaint is that it isn't used again.
New York, Queens. It's a rough borough, but hey, it's home.
Why are you narrating in that voice?
Because it's fun.
One of the best things this film does is send Peter Parker back to high school in more than just having him actually be a sophomore. It starts right here with this childlike, goofy narration. And here's your payoff to the little kid in Iron Man 2 wearing the Iron Man mask being Peter Parker. That's it. The globe from the Stark Expo. Worth it. So seeing this made me go back and rewatch the airport fight for research, and the best one I could come up with was telling you that it made me go back and watch it. Inspiring repeat viewings of other films win. Also, it lines up pretty well.
I started a fight with Captain America and I stole his shield and I threw it at him and what the hell, he's big now, I gotta go. Hang on.
And every response and side comment is just perfect. He's a high school kid who's just stoked to be invited to the party.
Hey, May. How you doing? What are you wearing? Something skimpy, I hope.
That had to be an unscripted line producing a genuine laugh from Robert Downey Jr.
Happy is hoping to get bumped up to asset management. He was for head of security.
Hey, Ford of Security, that was last week.
Don't do anything I would do, and definitely don't do anything I wouldn't do. There's a little gray area in there, and that's where you operate.
Superheroing advice. And let's talk about the continuity of Tony's healing shiner from Civil War. That's it, it's there. Hug it.
That's not a hug, I'm just grabbing the door for you. We're not there yet.
Of course Peter's gonna have Spoons the underdog pumping into his brain. He's just a kid who wants to be taken off the Avengers bench.
Do you have a date for homecoming?
Thanks, Jason, but I already have a date.
Okay.
Yeah.
So relatable. And this explains why Betty doesn't end up in front of the camera with a bugle. I get that this is like a STEM specialty school, but in more, let's say, pandering hands, we definitely have some high school cliques to observe. Because everyone making movies over a certain age believes that's how high school relationships work. You just fall into your designated group for 4 years and can't leave it.
Good job on those spreadsheets, Peter. Here's a gold coin. I don't know how jobs work.
That's exactly how they work.
Confirmed. And sometimes they give you outdoor time too. Really glad to see Gloria found a school hiring ex-cons. Okay, for starters, that's a really high engagement rate for 4,000 views. I would know, I was there for over 8 months. Second, I love that this Spider-Man video only has 4,000 views because, yeah, whatever. In a world where superheroes are dropped through wormholes, AI robots drop cities from the sky, and Cap drops helicarriers onto the Triskelion, some guy swinging around catching cars, meh. Also, fake! Also, I know the DVD hasn't been out for very long, but you're telling me only another 5,000 people watched this video since the movie was filmed? I'd never seen it, and let me tell you, it has some twists and turns. You know how I love transitions, and these are so smooth, you may not even have noticed the jumps.
I got a hot date with Black Widow coming up.
That is false.
What did I tell you about using the bell for comedic purposes?
No jokes, I'm just impressed that this guy is Bill from Freaks and Geeks. Dude has range. Also, his buddy Sam, aka John Francis Daly, helped write this movie. A lot of you are upset that I used the other version of Mr. Aziz, so as way of an apology, even if we've departed from the Iron Man 1 groundedness in some other films, it makes sense that a film featuring Iron Man in a suit made by Iron Man is going to be as realistic a representation as possible. And I love it. Changing into tights takes time. Also, I mean, can we agree? Coolest Spidey suiting up to date. I'll be honest that I was a little taken aback by the jerky movements at first, but on further thought it makes sense with how jittery and excitable this Peter Parker is. He's pumped to get superheroing.
You're that Spider guy on YouTube, right? Call me Spider-Man! Okay, Spider-Man, don't flip! Yeah! Not bad!
Nickname acceptance and compliments. As much as I love Raimi's take, this is probably a more realistic look at daily crime fighting. Helping people with directions is going to come up more than black beanie bandits burglarizing bodegas. There's going to be a lot of hanging out, which plays perfectly into his impatience for another retreat.
Gary, how you doing?
Marjorie, how are you? How's your mother?
Cause I used to date her. The other thing that really came into focus after watching the Civil War battle was, of course, he'd be super amped up for the next mission, and having to only be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man would get a bit boring. Also, a Spider-Man being pretty ineffectual montage set to the Ramones is the fastest way to fall flat on your face.
I'm good.
Gotta hand it to Toombs and the Tinkerer for coming up with some inventive ways to use that hovering tech.
Thor, Hulk.
Ragnarok preview, honoring a Spidey artist. Hey look, it's Ant-Man. Get it? Made all the AT-AT purists angry again, and referenced that scene in Civil War in one fell swoop. So, anyone wondering, or more accurately nitpicking, why Peter has bunk beds when he has no siblings, I actually had bunk beds in high school when both my brothers were already out of the house. How's he gonna have friends sleep over? Tom Holland's workout routine. I mean, really, I looked it up, and I'll even give them slack on 2 shirt-off scenes. The kid worked out non-stop, and his background in dance and gymnastics helped him get the role in the first place. Also, he does free running for fun.
Some house.
Oh, thanks.
Flirting.
The spider's dead, Ned.
Thank you for that, John Watts. Also, thank you for letting Ben rest in peace. Nothing against origin stories. You know I love them. But 3 for the same character in 1 decade would have been excessive. Although we do probably have Aaron Davis' nephew Miles Morales to look forward to.
Do you lay eggs?
What? No.
Amazing response. Seriously, another Brit who does an American accent better than I do.
Can you spit venom?
He ain't no Tom Hardy.
Conducting the Captain America Fitness Challenge.
Thank you, Captain. I'm pretty sure this guy's a war criminal now.
Thankfully, Wakanda doesn't have extradition. And a Ned interrogating Peter about Spider-Man montage is the fastest way to find out some things about Betty we probably didn't need to know.
F Thor, marry Iron Man, and kill Hulk.
Be myself. Peter, no one wants that.
Honesty. Mean honesty. Such a different choice moment from other Spider-Men. That explosion has nothing to do with him or anyone he knows. He's not even in his town, but given the chance to up his cred or potentially save some people, he makes the heroic choice. Finally, Spidey in the burbs. There isn't always something the perfect distance and height away to swing from, even if Ned's advice was worth trying.
If I was you, I would stand on the edge of a building and just shoot it as far as I could.
Expectation subversion dog attack. You know, because dogs in movies are generally trying to bite superheroes. To be fair, if you set up a movie facing the pool, you shouldn't be surprised when the movie comes to life in your backyard. Also, anyone else think it's weird that this scene was mirrored in all the trailers? First real action set piece is reminiscent of other Spider-Man outings, not without its own unique moments. But then it takes an unexpected yet welcome turn, really setting the Vulture up as an unknown and a dude to be feared. Is this Tony trying to get the waiter's attention? Confirmed.
That is not what you thought when I took on Captain America.
Trust me, kid. Cap wanted to lay you out. He would have.
Technically, he did lay him out a couple times.
Stay close to the ground.
Stay close to the ground? What is he talking about?
I think he means to avoid things like this. I'm not sure he deserved that. But you guys keep killing him, Marissa's going to keep reluctantly saving Ryan.
What you say?
I just want to thank you for letting me be a part of your journey.
Genuine gratitude. Maybe some of Peter's tech is a little too Iron Man-y, but I'm not going to look a gift-tracking spider in the mouth. Mandibles? Fangs? Point is, we've seen other versions. I'm good with this new one. This version of Spider-Man also doesn't have the embarrassed Flash scene. While I was fine with the other versions, I like it for a couple reasons. Just because Peter knows he could throw Flash into the next county doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. And even though he's far, far, far physically superior to Flash, he's constantly backing off. I also like that Flash isn't a 30-year-old jock. He's actually clearly smaller than Peter, but size and stature aren't really what bullying is about.
Fort Sumter. Flash is wrong.
I don't agree with Guilfoyle. Using the bell for comedic purposes is exactly what it should be used for.
Strontium, barium, vibranium.
Was the question silvery metals that end in eum?
Just again treating me like a kid all the time. It's not cool.
He says while jumping on the bed and whining.
I got your gauntlet from the Lagos cleanup.
Easy to overlook, but this movie does a good job of reminding us of all the crazy disasters that have happened in the MCU. They didn't just get their tech from the New York incident. He's got Crossbone's gauntlet and they make guns.
Subaltron arm straight from Sokovia.
What the hell just happened? What was that?
You jumped off the sign and landed on your face.
Astute observations from Jarvis's real-life wife. But seriously, Jennifer Connelly is always a win.
Great choice. You're in the most secure facility on the eastern seaboard. The damage-controlled deep storage vault.
No!
Quick, go look for the Ark of the Covenant.
I think I should probably give you a name.
How about Betty Ross? I don't remember if I gave Ryan Reynolds enough credit for how much time he spent with his mask on, but he deserved it. And so does Tom Holland. This is one of those times when it would be completely acceptable to take his mask off and get more face screen time. But this way he can talk to Karen, and he's a kid who's waiting for the bad guys to show up. So he's keeping his identity safe. Whoa, 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 whoa. You can use a TI-83 for more than Tetris? Man, I've been to the Washington Monument. I guess I just never realized quite how tall it is. They do a fantastic job of showcasing its scale. I mean, it's still nothing compared to the Clinton monument.
Activating reconnaissance drone.
AKA batteries not included or the fix-its, right? Huh? Anyone? They've always said when you don't know what Spidey is swinging off of, just assume there's a helicopter. Well, there's a helicopter. Love the attention to detail of the web fibers flattening out on the edge of the elevator shaft. Saving your Liz.
This is your chance, Peter. Kiss her.
Nah, he's already done that.
Thanks to the Spider-Man.
Thank you,
Spider-Man.
Thankfulness.
The other night you told that dude, if you're gonna shoot somebody, shoot me.
Willingness to self-sacrifice payoff.
I don't want those weapons in this neighborhood. I got a nephew who live here.
Don't worry, just don't stop any Oscorp spiders from biting him.
Would you like me to activate instant kill?
No, Karen, stop it with the instant kill already.
I mean, you might be better off just getting Scorpion out of the way. Although, doesn't Gargan become Venom at some point as well? Does this mean Tom Hardy will never be in the MCU? Well, there's still a chance. Get him a Wolverine film and make a deal with Fox, Marvel Studios. Solved it.
White grenade! White grenade! Throw it! Go!
Hey, all that time with Karen paid off. Yep. I mean, that was all pretty sick.
Hi, Spider-Man.
Iron Man to the rescue. Is that a good thing? It has to be, right?
Maybe it is time that I built the high altitude seal.
Would you shut up about
No,
that?
one job. I finished designing that high altitude vacuum seal.
I told you, no. The answer is no. Forget it.
I do enjoy Vulture's consistency. He's trying to stay a small-time crook and not incur the wrath of the Avengers, or even Iron Man. Now that he's on Iron Man's radar, he might as well go all in.
Mason, can you get that high altitude seal thing up and running in time?
If you even cared, you'd actually be here.
Ooh, baller move. Badass good guy.
This is all I have. I'm nothing without this suit.
If you're nothing without this suit, then you shouldn't have it.
You know, I like this reimagined great power, great responsibility line. Ultimately the same basic premise, and it's a great carryover from what Tony learned in Iron Man 3. Building a Lego Death Star with your bestie is definitely a win. A learning to tie a tie and dance montage is the fastest way to justify the title of your film. Hot dang, I did not see that coming. Solid twist.
You all right, Pete? Yeah. Because you look pale.
And the way this scene plays out is so nerve-wracking. No building sinister score in the background, just the tension between the characters playing off multiple emotions. More normal human smiling.
I've seen you around, right, man? I mean, because of even the voice.
And the lack of the score really starts to get under your skin as Toomes starts to, very realistically I might add, piece it all together. Even when he dismisses the possibility for a split second.
And it's at my party.
I bet you're glad when your old pal Spider-Man showed up in the elevator, though.
Then the bassy score comes in as Toomes gives Peter one last chance to give himself an alibi.
Does she know?
And then the confrontation is even better. The build-up to and then this moment are the best part of this film.
I just saved your life. Nobody say.
Thank you. Space Age love song?
Oh, gross.
Even when he's getting his butt kicked, he still has time to be a goofy teenager.
Flash, I need your car on your phone.
Sometimes a back growl is your best option.
Prototype for Cap's new shield and Thor's magic belt.
I get that these are just one-off Easter eggs, but I don't care. I'm happy Tony, or at least the Avengers R&D division, maybe, is still working on Cap's gear, war criminal or not. So I'm sure people will say, how did Vulture know to set a trap for Peter when he just found out who he was? Well, I'm sure the second Peter got out of his car, he sent Shocker to the school, which is only a few minutes away based on how fast they got here. And then assuming Shocker would probably fail, he came up with this plan. It's not super involved, and he hadn't even had time to warm up the wingsuit yet.
Down here! I'm down here! I'm stuck! I'm stuck! I can't move! I can't...
Ugh, this film does a great job in this regard anyway, but what a stark reminder that Peter is just a kid. Even Spider-Man's instincts are to call for help. You really feel for him.
Oh, come on, Spider-Man!
In addition to being right out of the comics, it's such a triumphant moment of Peter really understanding what Tony was talking about. I've heard complaints that his suit in this film makes him a little too invincible, but I think that was the point. That's his arc. It's all been leading to this moment when he has to be Spider-Man without the suit, without Iron Man, without any help at all. He needs to be more than the suit. This final action set piece is fun, intense, and still a small-scale conflict, even if it's a big plane with high stakes. I'm just happy they didn't go blue beam to space. That said, they captured how powerful the speed and wind on top of the plane would be and how everything is pretty much constantly trying to kill you. And Peter does save a ton of people by making it crash on the beach. Brutal. Doing the right thing. Saving your girlfriend's dad, even though he tried to kill you like a bunch of times.
My friends call me MJ.
Aren't these your friends? whatever, just dye your hair red before the next film, please. Or, go get him, Tiger.
Actually, it turns out it was the perfect sort of tough love moment that you needed, right? To urge you on, right? Wouldn't you think? Don't you think? Let's just say it once.
Surrogate parenting win-ish. Something that bugged me at first was that although the ferry splitting in half and the plane crashing were both equal parts Peter's fault and not his fault, Tony takes his suit away after the first and lets him join the Avengers after the other. What if the plane had crashed into a stadium and killed thousands of people? Is the outcome what actually mattered? I get that without his interference in the plane, really bad things would have happened. So he did save the day, whereas it was just an arms deal on the ferry. But I do think taking the suit away was a tough love moment to spur Peter on, and in doing so, he proved himself worthy.
And I'll introduce the world, the newest official member of the Avengers, Spider-Man.
Dang, you mean the Iron Spider?
I'd rather just stay on the ground.
It's kind of a Springsteen-y, working-class hero vibe that I dig.
While Tony can spin anything, this is a perfect moment for Peter and really honors what this film is about.
Want to be a high school dropout?
I am so far beyond high school right now.
It took the events of this movie for him to realize what he was missing, that some of this is over his head for now, and that maybe he should stay closer to the ground. Exactly the face you want your future wife to make. At least her hair's getting closer to the right color. Also happy to officially see they've reconciled since Civil War.
What the
Credit censoring. And really glad Aunt May finally knows for sure this time. And some hand-drawn credits to once again keep us entertained waiting for the stinger. Next time, maybe try going by the Seagull.
It's not on you.
I mean, it's sort of on him.
If I knew who he was, he'd already be dead.
Alright, maybe he's an alright guy. Or does he just realize that he's actually the first Spider-Man villain to not go after Spider-Man's girlfriend since she's his daughter? And that anyone who does know will go after anyone he's ever liked?
Sometimes patience is the key to victory. Sometimes it leads to very little, and it seems like it's not worth it.
Sometimes maybe you should be in prison.
How many more of these?
I feel like I got rickrolled. However, he shot so many of these. I can't even believe they got him to do it. Totally makes up for it. The best thing happening in Homecoming is the size of the story. It's intimate and real, and we have a Peter Parker who sees the Avengers like we do, as celebrities. Comic Spider-Man has always excelled at being the neighborhood hero, but in this film, more so than any other of the five, his challenges are, well, barely important enough for Iron Man's assistant. And nothing epitomizes that more than the opening scene with the human side of the Chitauri invasion. Things most people don't really consider when watching giant aliens crash through buildings. Someone's got to clean that crap up. And yeah, they're going to have scaffolding just to take the debris apart. It was such a great way to bring it down to our level, especially when the conflict focuses on a blue-collar guy doing tiny crimes. I've heard and read a lot of people talk about how Vulture is a sympathetic character and don't really see him as a villain. Maybe in the beginning I'll give you that, in a Walter White kind of way. Shocker numero uno wouldn't have been such a tough guy if he really thought Toomes was capable of vaporizing him. But even with that, he barely gives the fact that he murdered someone a thought seconds later. And then by the end, he's ordering people to be killed, threatening his daughter's date's life, shooting energy weapons into crowded ferries, and purposefully crushing teenagers with concrete debris. I get that he lost a big contract. Lots and lots of business owners have invested financially in projects that fall through. Most of them don't build mech wingsuits and start slinging alien weapons on the same streets their kids walk. I get that Keaton feels like he's a decent guy falling on hard times, but really, I give Peter even more credit for saving his life, since to me, he's just a straight up bad guy. Whether it's about not letting Liz lose her dad, or just because he's a genuinely good person, yay for Peter Parker. I'm not saying Toomes or Keaton is unlikable. In fact, I really like the character, and it's fun to see Bat Birdman villain it up. Fits really well with his later-in-life voice rasp. Makes you wonder when someone will give Steve Guttenberg his big MCU villain break. But enough about the villain. Let's talk about Spider-Man. Maguire captured Peter Parker's awkward, goofy pauses, but didn't have a lot to say as Spidey. Garfield captured Spider-Man's biting banter and one-liners, but was a little too suave and not dorky enough when the mask was off.
I just need something to stick out somebody. I'm not trying to shoot them back in time.
Tom Holland kills it as both.
You deserve that.
I got ice cream in
You
here,
deserve
man.
that. You're a criminal. Bye, Mr. Criminal.
He's shy but not too cringy, cocky and sarcastic but likable. Peter's uncomfortable around girls, but Spider-Man becomes fast friends with Karen. He nails the freedom and heroism of Spider-Man perfectly. And this is one of the funnier Spider-Mans we've ever had.
This feels so weird.
Constantly intermonologuing, and Tom Holland impresses me throughout. He just talks non-stop.
Oh, you'd be more handsome in person.
Just like Falcon pointed out in Civil War. They've pretty much got what Spider-Man looks like and how he moves down to a science at this point. But I'm still always giddy watching him web-swinging around. They added a new energy to Tom Holland's version. And as far as taking a green-feathered foe into live action, this is way cooler but still honors the original since, he's still scavenging remains, like a vulture. I feel like I didn't talk about the action scenes too much. They're all great, even if every single one of them was in the trailers. I think I'm just getting a little desensitized to well-done action, but all the CGI was flawless, explosions were fantastic, and I really enjoyed the final showdown. Because this wasn't another origin story, they were able to move beyond the things happening to Peter Parker and Peter Parker responds by being Spider-Man story threads and move into him actively seeking conflict out. Obviously, the spider bite wasn't planned, but this is a Peter that's been Spider-Man for a little while, and he's going out there trying to fix stuff. It's not easy to keep reinventing this character, but they're off to a good start. There's a line in Civil War that I didn't win, but really applies to this film.
When you can do the things that I can, but you don't, and then the bad things happen, they happen because of you.
Lots of little details in this film to be picked out. From standing in front of an American flag and holding a pen in the air to answer a question after being Spider-Man that have to be references to Spider-Man 2, to the webs not immediately disappearing and blowing in the wind after he detaches, or how much property damage he causes as a young superhero. You're gonna bend some gutters and ruin some fences when you're running around like a madman and maybe freak some poor girls out. Or the fact that every single thing that's been set up as part of MCU history is subtly referenced in this film. Like the principal being a Howling Commando's grandson, or the pictures of Howard Stark, Dr. Abraham, and Bruce Banner. There are a ton of Easter eggs. I guess some people were upset about Zendaya's reveal at the end, thought it was a waste, and also she's the wrong ethnicity. To both, I say, meh. Her name isn't said the entire film, yet she has some of the funniest beats and is at least around for a lot that happens, even if in the background. I think you were supposed to assume. I know I did.
I'm not obsessed with him, I'm just very observant.
The little MJ at the end was just for confirmation. And like I said about Idris as the whitest Norse god ever, just cast the best actor. And Zendaya is phenomenal.
Am I?
Let's see, Tom was great, Keaton was great, Ned, Jacob Batalon was an amazing guy in the chair, and we got a real sense of his and Peter's friendship. Marissa Tomei was also awesome. I have zero qualms about a young Aunt May at this point. There's something more relatable, and you get the feeling that Peter... respect isn't the right word because even the older Mays garner respect, but they're almost like buddies. Like they're going through life together, and it's really sweet. Other than that, Laura Harrier's Liz was a fine one-and-gone love interest. I'm not sure what to think about the timeline mess-up. It's possible, though unlikely, that it was just a typo and no one thought twice about it. I mean, Happy says...
I've been carrying this since 2008.
So maybe they just weren't thinking? Still, I think Feige's better than that. It's most likely because Liz being 13 or 14 years old when she drew this picture is silly, so they de-aged her with the jump. My real theory is that Strange messed the timeline up and we'll find out that he was in a loop for 4 years or something. Either way, whether it was deliberate or not, they have to address it. So, good luck with that. I'm sure they'll come up with something awesome. Alright, showing my hand a little more than normal because I know some of you are at the end of your Marvel rope right now. I'm just really excited for Ragnarok and wanted to go through all the MCU films to get ready for it. So after next week, we'll have a Marvel break. And since next week should be pretty obvious, here's a frame from the week after.
Finally, something good. What's up, guys? You forget your PIN number?
This is what happens when you try to record with your dog in the room. And the mailman is trying to deliver something, because mailmen are evil.